Yes, sir. Good morning and welcome to Morning at NTV. My name is Kaggwa, and what a lovely day to be alive. It's 2024, January. Have you set your resolutions? Are you happy to go ahead and do something new that you hadn't done in 2023 and before? Well, it's your time to do so. Never say that it's late. Today is today, tomorrow is tomorrow. Now, as the curtain lifts on a new year, the film industry is abuzz with anticipation. After a tumultuous period marked by a pandemic and industry strikes, cinema is poised to make a grand comeback in 2024. This resurgence is fueled by exciting lineup of movies with filmmakers and studios gearing up to deliver a variety of cinematic experiences. Subsequently, in the ever-evolving world of film, the digital age has ushered in a transformative change that has reshaped how we create, consume, and think about cinema. From the revolutionary impact of digital cameras to the vast digital landscapes available for exploration, the film industry has seen both unparalleled advancements and unique challenges. We delving into the few details of 2024 with Nana Kagga, a filmmaker, international blockbuster star in films like Star Trek and CSI New York. Did you know that? Well, you didn't. And Andrew Kaggwa, who is late but here on time as usual, and we are happy to have them both in studio to talk about how is film going to be this year? You as a filmmaker, what are you going to do? There are so many stories in Africa, in Uganda, that need to be told. How are you going to tell them? Is the audience there? Well, if you have just joined us, again, my name is Kaggwa. To keep up with the conversation, go to our social media platforms. That is on X, which was Twitter, and Facebook and YouTube. Look out for NTV Uganda on my name, Kaggwa. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. Please be part of that conversation. Tell us, what can we do to move forward? Ladies and gentlemen, lady and gentlemen, good morning.
It's his hair.
Seriously. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Andrew, good morning. I like the, what is it called? The standard for that effort. Yes, I like it. How was the year for you in 2023 and 2024 has come about? What have you done?
2023, a lot of anticipation. I think I had more anticipation for 2023 as far as the film industry is concerned.
Yeah.
And
you were disappointed.
It broke my heart.
Oh my God! Why am I being held accountable?
You're here.
Oh wow! So now, okay.
You are a representative.
Let me listen.
Yes. So like I felt like we fell short. We doubled up with the value of films. Like when it comes to the volume, we doubled up. I think we even tripled. When it comes to people seeing them, I think we took about 20 steps back.
Yeah.
Did we go? Nana.
No.
2023.
Yes.
Before we get into the discussion, I know you lost your Jaja.
Yes.
How is the family coping? How are you coping?
We're you know.
It's life.
Yes. That's not.
Yeah. Well, all right. So 2023, how was it for you?
It was an interesting time. I like Andrew's just said, there was a lot of films that were done, but again, from a filmmaker's perspective, we're not supporting our own content. And also, despite the fact that there was a lot of quantity of film, the quality keeps falling short in so many departments. And then there wasn't any advancement in terms of finances. In terms, like, we actually lost. Because when you weigh what we had to pay in order to get the finances, it wasn't. A lot of people lost IPRs to. I think everyone lost their intellectual property rights to these pay-per-view TV stations, and the money that was paid for them. Yes. Okay. we don't want to lose them, but we just had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
You know, Andrew.
Room for improvement.
Yes.
Is what you say.
Yes, really a lot of room for improvement.
I think beginning 2022 and 2023, one of the things I was very excited about was the fact that filmmakers are not using their money to make films.
Yes,
Yeah.
finally.
Because world over, no one uses their money to make films. Though in Uganda, I felt like it cost a lot. They are not using their money, but the terms that come with it, like I was on a set where people were expected to deliver a film in a week.
Yep.
Like,
from pre-production to post-production
Yes.
in 7 days.
Yeah.
That's insane.
like it's insane. Like, yes, probably there is money, but in a week.
The terms and conditions
Are quite stiff.
they're actually they don't provide a creative environment.
Yeah.
They actually are very high pressure, and as creatives we need time to sort of explore ideas,
Yeah.
see how to edit the script, casting, rehearse, all of that. So what we got was, here's money in 7 days, we want a film fully edited, color graded, graphics, posters. It was insane. And if you did deliver, and also one thing I need to point out, the money never came in one
Bunch,
installment.
yeah.
It came in installments. So if you didn't meet this milestone,
Yeah.
you didn't get paid, and yet you had already committed. It was, yes.
Yeah. So for me, like, that was a problem, and what that produced was a series of
Disasters.
TV series packaged as movies. 'Cause
Wait, what did you just say?
we got very many TV series packaged as movies.
Oh,
Because
that's
you
not
see,
nice.
the thing about TV series is that it's produced for daily TV.
Yes, yeah.
So there are some lengths they will not go to. Even if they are talking cinematography, there are some things they will not go to because they are too detailed, it takes a lot of time. Cinema is cinema because it actually goes deeper than a TV series.
Yes.
So most of the films we got last year looked like TV series. Like, they were basically shot to be finished.
I should.
Nana is out of words.
No, I didn't look at it that way. I actually just thought, this is how bad it got, and I'll tell you. This particular platform was actually streaming people's movies that had not been, they basically wanted a rough cut. And for us, what that is if you put the footage on a timeline and you can say, okay, I finished shooting, here's the product. And because you didn't meet that deadline, they would stream your film in its rough cut.
Wow.
It was, without graphics, without, so some of us were sitting there, and you'd sit there and you'd watch your film and feel absolutely shattered, because as a filmmaker, like Andrew said, we're storytellers. We give life color, we give it visuals, we tell stories of the voiceless. I can wax poetic about it, but as a filmmaker, it's almost like you're giving birth to something.
Yeah.
And when someone exploits it for whatever reason, whether monetary, timelines, it's such a betrayal. I can't even explain it. So a lot of people were coming around and saying, my film was shown, but I don't want to ever see it again. Okay, and a lot
So
of
it's a
people,
bad relationship,
yes, and a lot of
down
people
with it.
abandoned projects at that particular moment because it just felt traumatic for you to be at that point where you could possibly, you're at the cusp of having something so good, but they won't let you have the time to make it that good. And Ugandan stories are fascinating. By the way, I just need to put a caveat on that. For the first time personally in 2023, I saw what Ugandan film can look like. If it's financed, if we're given the time, if we're appreciated, if people actually take the time to watch their own
I think
content.
I'll disagree a bit.
Oh my God, please don't.
Like, I've always been advocating for Ugandan films to get more money because, like, I believe they deserve it. They deserve to work with more money. They deserve to work with a budget they think they're comfortable with. Though 2023 a bit disapproved me, like, for the very first time there was money.
Yes.
Okay, some of it was bad and the conditions were bad.
But there was
then
money.
There was money, there was still money. There were films that got about 100+ millions for those grants from UCC.
Oh.
And
Thank you for telling me that on national TV. I didn't know. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Oh. Oh,
It's been a project.
I just feel like you actually sat me here just to throw that at me, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's good. It's a platform to learn.
So
On TV.
yeah, the call is out again for
Yes.
I think next year's the call will be out.
Yeah.
But you see, like when for the very first time there were Ugandan films that got over 100 million. Like you have 150 million, go and make a film.
And
When I watch the films, trust me, I cannot stand up and say
That was worth
that's
it.
a Ugandan film, it's worth 100 million. Like I can't. Because I do not see the money in the acting. I do not see the money in the production values, in the story. I do not see the money at all.
where it went. Well, it's quite a curious thing that you say, and I've had this from other filmmakers,
Right.
where they say, example, you mentioned it a little bit, where the money is there, but it's not there. Then it gets to kind of like a tug of war.
Most films actually got their money a bit early. They literally had a year to
Yes,
work.
you are talking about the project where UCC was providing
Yes.
money with filmmakers.
Yes.
She's talking about another
Yes.
That other one, I
arrangement.
That
understand.
other one, but
I understand. So I'm talking about this one where the money was a lot,
Yeah.
the time was provided,
yes.
and the film still did not cut it.
Okay, next time, I think next week we shall get somebody who did get money from UCC and we'll question them. How? What happened? Why didn't you really translate the money that was given to you onto the screen?
Can I say something on that issue? I find that UCC and other bodies want to promote film in Uganda, and they really want to give emerging filmmakers a chance. But you cannot take 200 million and give it to an emerging filmmaker and think they'll produce an authentically Ugandan film with the production values, the casting, all of that. What we're seeing is that they're eliminating seasoned filmmakers from giving them grants and producing quality Ugandan films that will basically reflect the capability of the film industry in Uganda and giving it to people that are just basically trying to make something of themselves. And while I applaud that, we're actually compromising what we could possibly get in terms of co-productions, in terms of recognition from on a global scale. Personally, I find that every time I read the list of the people that have been granted, I
It's
find
emerging filmmakers.
Exactly, and I think
Do you think that's intentional?
I think that they might have a plan, and for them in their heads it's actually going to work, but the question is, what is the vision of UCC by granting these things? Are we actually going to give Ugandan film the voice it needs, or are we going to give emerging filmmakers a chance? Are you now going to take established, imagine if you took established filmmakers, and I'm going to give you a scenario. Take Lukman, bring him on board as a DOP, bring me on board, get the Nawisos on board. Basically, as UCC, sit down and say, this is who we have as the really premier filmmakers. We're going to put you in a group, we're going to give you 300 million, and if that film does not reflect who we are as Ugandan film, we are going to hold you accountable. Then you bring him back and have him say it wasn't a Ugandan film.
Something interesting happened early on, and I think it is continuing with a certain company that's offering, can I call them scholarships of sorts? Maybe like training campaign of some sort for younger filmmakers.
Yes.
And actually in the application there is a limit of the age.
Yes.
And I found it very segregative in a way, a little bit of ageism there, but
basically they disqualify.
You get, because we have talked about this with Andrew over weeks on this show every Friday, and for you who have just joined us, every Friday we talk about entertainment right here at Morning at NTV, so be sure to tune in. We've talked about the issue of the fact that our industry might not be as mature as other industries. When you look at Bollywood, Nollywood, Hollywood, our industry is practically 30 years younger. That means the filmmakers that are experienced might not necessarily have the right education, might not have gone to NYC for education. So but they have been making it, and they just need that push, that little bit of push,
Right.
because there's an issue of lack of schools, film schools, standard film schools.
Yes.
So you find the filmmakers that are already there doing it, who you talked about, the experienced ones,
Yep.
need that education.
Yes.
But then you limit them.
Yes.
So going back to what you're saying, giving money to emerging filmmakers, is that a mistake?
I don't think it's a mistake, but what we need to consider, again, I go back to vision and the impact that we want to make on the world with the Ugandan voice. There is no problem with basically empowering the youth, but even an experienced filmmaker needs exposure, because what we're talking about is technology keeps changing in film. I can sit here today and tell you I don't know half of the cameras that are emerging. I'm lucky enough that I tend to hire the younger crew, especially tech, younger, they know exactly what to do. They can do amazing things. I have the vision, I have the experience, I can put together production, I can write the story, I can put all of that together. But the same thing you're saying, we need to be careful. Empowering the youth and helping the experienced filmmaker, where do we merge the two together so that we don't leave anyone out?
Behind.
There's a lot of programs that cut off at 35. But for the Ugandan filmmaker who's been on the grind, they're just coming into themselves at 40. But now you're telling them they're not eligible for financing, they're not eligible for training, they're not eligible for the money, they're not eligible for exposure.
The fact that the creative economy keeps admitting people regardless of age, because I mean, we all know Sarah Sauzi. By the time she got into the industry, probably she was older than all of us.
Yes.
So if you're creating programs around age, like, you're basically cutting her off before she even wants to start.
And you know, this is the thing about her. She turns up for every training.
Yeah.
She turns up for every workshop.
Yeah.
So when you take someone like that and tell them, we
You
don't need
exclude
you,
them.
you are not. And you know what's so funny? As a producer, the hardest age group for me to cast is 60 and above. Because they're not there. And most of them are, you know, Ajakugamba can only turn up for like, it's 2 hours. That's all I can give you. All of this. So when you have a committed filmmaker, for me, I think we really need to nurture them, regardless of age. Because as a creative, you don't stop being a creative just because you're 60, 70. I think that we are doing them a disservice by saying we stop at 35. You know, and then again, this program that you're talking about disqualified a lot of us, even you, Andrew, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't say your age. It did.
Well.
I just told you. It did, and we're appealing to people. Come on, we also still we can still benefit.
I do not know the criteria, and I guess maybe someday we shall get somebody on here to explain the criteria, why they choose
I think
that.
You see, the thing what happens with the creative industry is that you dive in when you know nothing, so you start learning on the job. The more exposure you get is the more chances you get to actually learn. But funny is, the more exposure you get is the older you get, and is the more chances you can't actually attend trainings because they have the age cap.
Yes, and also life happens. And then also, just to add on to his, when you're in the creative industry, most of the time you just go in and you learn on the job, and you can't narrow down what you want to be yet. You can't narrow down that I'm a better director than I am a script writer. I'm a better actress than I am a gaffer. So by the time you actually identify with yourself and say, this is exactly where I want to go, it comes with experience again. And you know, time has gone by, the years have gone by, but again, your experience does not disqualify you from training or exposure. So, which
is really sad and miserable, and I hope something is done.
We just went down in the dive. The energy on set just went like this. You know,
maybe people are watching and say, "What are these old people talking about?" We're not that old. Well. We have talked about the issue of funding and how all these institutions are building up criteria of who to give the money and where to put the money at. How much ideally, and now this question is for you, Nana, how much ideally, because he mentioned 100 million Ugandan shillings, and you exclaimed, and I would think it's not a lot of money. So how much ideally should be given to filmmakers to actually make an ideal
A blockbuster.
competing blockbuster?
It depends on the genre you're going for. If it's a drama, a comedy, it also depends on a lot of things. If you have locations, 1, 2, 3, how big is your cast? But ideally, I mean, you've gotten the cheapest, I think, a Hollywood feature could possibly be is about $1 million. That's when they're done by independent companies, not the big studios. That's $1 million. I don't think we'll ever get that.
Yeah.
But most of my movies, like the one that won 2023 Mukisa, we spent 37 million Uganda shillings, and we still managed to win Best Feature. But that's because I shot it out of Kampala. I made sure that the story was simplistic. It identified with a lot of people. It's about never giving up on your dreams, you know, that whole thing, hope. No, you know, yeah, and the scenery was done in our village. And yes, really, it was done with that in mind, because for me now, and Andrew will testify to this, when we get a film, we work backwards. We get the money first, then we work backwards on which script can qualify for us to actually produce something with quality, which should not be the norm. It should be that you present your project first and then it gets financed, but we don't have that luxury. So normally we get the money, then we work backwards and we start breaking down and thinking, where can we simplify? And you know, 150 million, if someone gave that to me, I can honestly say, good Lord, I'd really like go to town on what I could possibly do with that, because that's 3 times my budget. No, it's 4. No, we're going in 5. Yes, 5 times my budget.
Wow.
That's amazing. But when you know, it's again, I don't know if that money comes with terms and conditions, but everything that comes with free money as a creative comes with terms and conditions. And that's where most of the time I get to say, okay, how bad do I have to compromise this project to actually meet the terms and conditions that qualify me to go that way? But
anyway, to just add on what she said, I think the easier way of putting it down is the more ambitious you are, the more expensive the film becomes. If I'm shooting, say, a drama about people in Kampala having Fano people in Masaka, and I'm not taking them like 10 years back, that means the world is my set. If I'm taking them 10 years back, I will have to look for props that look 10 years back. Then that's when you're becoming ambitious, and that's when the entire costume has to be different, because with the costume today, I can even come on set in my clothes and I will shoot and it will be believable. So the budget most of the times depends on how ambitious you are.
And also action films. I don't know, have you had Lookman here?
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's the king of the action film, right? And yes, he is. No, okay. There's Wakaliwood.
Respect the OG. My God.
Alex Katiora. If they had taken Isaac and given him 150 million Uganda shillings, imagine a scenario. If he can make Who Killed Captain Alex with a minimal budget, imagine giving that gentleman 200 and saying, give us Ugandan action quality. Assassinate bomb to Nerimuyuza. Have you seen in the blood stories like that? So, but then we make it more authentic. But again, action films are always more expensive, and I've seen Ugandan producers try to do them and they look absolutely horrendous because they're not believable.
You know, I would like to, oh my God, commend Isaac. There's a trailer. I do not know the name of the movie it was, but there's a trailer that he did. I watched that trailer. There was an action sequence where this lady turns around and I'm like, whoa, this is Marvel stuff. Like, you could see the set, okay, the production value wasn't that much, because I'm imagining he doesn't have that much of a budget.
Yes.
But the choreography, the camera movement was really, really legit. So that's why I stopped you. I'm not discrediting Lukman. Lukman has done a lot. But Isaac
Nawana has tapped
I
into.
always respect the
You
OGs.
cannot stop watching his films. I don't care what category. If you keep yourself classy, you can sit there and be like, Agena Kumuta. Oh, oh my God, I'd be sick. Like even the helicopter scenes when they rise up, it's absolutely beautiful. But then again, that's us as a people. And you know, again, where's this 150 million? Who's getting it? And that's the thing. I would love to petition for Isaac to get that sort of money. Imagine what he could give us if someone said, please, it's against Lukman and Isaac.
I think it goes
the action category. No.
What now?
I hope they do. Yeah, but you brought me here.
Yeah, definitely. I think it goes back to what we were talking about, and what you mentioned, the criteria of what is being followed to give people this money, and what are the terms and conditions. And I think those are the things that need to be looked at and probably a little bit cleaned up so that we move forward. Now, moving away from funding and the terms and conditions that I've had in corridors, but I don't want to give light because I have no proof of that. Storytelling.
Right.
And I'll go to you, Andrew.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that last year you felt filmmakers were given money and then they produced films that just broke your heart. Is your heart still broken, and why?
Okay, you see, Ugandans have interesting stories, and we're a very diverse group of people. I mean, all those tribes, we're quite many. So there is a lot to chew on when it comes to what we can do with storytelling, and yet literally every year, for some reason, we keep releasing that film. Like if you look at the films released every year, you'll notice there is a film about a man beating a wife and a wife being beaten. For some reason, actually, one of those people gets a nomination as Best Actor.
Please don't.
These shots requiring.
I know, wait.
Shots.
He's coming for everyone because I'm sitting next to him.
So I still felt like this story came back, regardless of how much we can do. And I know even if this story is present with us, there is a lot we can still do with it. So I felt like there was more we could do with storytelling, which we did not do. And that's besides even just the types of story, but the detail we gave the story. Most of our stories felt rushed. It's like someone had a rough cut of it and somehow got the money, and I cannot tell if they actually finished the script or they finished the scripts on set. So there was that whole thing where you're looking at a film and you're like, I see a lot of loopholes. One of the films that won very many awards at the festival, like, because you see, that's the other problem with our festival, that at the time the awards are being given out, most of you have not watched the films.
Right.
So you walk backward and you watch them and you're like, wait, what? Why? So I had those moments last year where I was watching films and I was like, wait, why?
I'm just like, wait. No, I think it's the fact that we don't really delve in, we don't build the characters enough, we don't have enough time, we don't give enough detail about why people do, these characters do certain things. We don't work on their interactions and what they need from each other, and then you always see like the scene jumps from here to there because at some point we have to finish and we are running out of money. And some films you can tell when they're running out of money because you start seeing the scenes are now shot indoors, which means they're walking through a corridor to one room to one room. Now it's one location. They don't actually go outside, and you see this with TV series as well, where you feel claustrophobic They're shooting everything moonlight.
I felt like most of our films felt like TV series.
That is very true when you think about it.
Nana,
yes,
as a screenwriter,
right?
He mentions issues that you find are basically, for a lack of a better word, unprofessional.
Yes.
And we are dealing with a profession.
Yes.
It's someone gives you their money from a business perspective, expecting profit.
Yes.
I'm expecting return on investment.
Yes.
And then you tell me you're making up as you go. How does that happen?
I think it's been historically, we've been an improv industry where people just didn't have scripts. They were given a description of the situation and you went out and said what you said, and the other person would pick up on the nuance of that and just go with it. Now, no offense, but everyone in Uganda claims to be a script writer. I think everyone in our industry has like 10 professions. I'm a producer, director, script writer, I'm a costume designer. Like, but wait, where do you want to go? I'm a gaffer, then you look at this person and you're like, how can you be good at all of that? Because as a human being, you can't be good at everything. You have to pick something specific. But Ugandans, like he said, we do have very, you know, repetitive storylines, and you even see it in TV series. You see one TV series pick up the storyline, and then right after it, it's the same story, because somehow we figured out, you know, we can appeal. I like to call it poverty porn. We love poverty porn. We love domestic violence. We love witchcraft. We like the second wife, and now we're moving into gangs. That's the newest urban tale of gangs. And you're thinking, okay, somebody give me a psychological thriller. Give me something that's going to make me sit up and say, that is incredible. And I'm also a big advocate for films being done in local languages, because once you speak your own language, it's very easy to attach an emotion to a line, as opposed to English. Even me, when I speak English, you start to wonder if your sentence construction is right, or what you'll get, they're going to judge you, all of that. So when we sit here today, scripts are key, but we don't build them enough. We don't think about the beginning, the middle, the end, the antagonist, the protagonist, the locations. We don't. For someone gets a script and say, you know what, you've seen that, and then they start changing lines on set without thinking about the impact of changing that line and how it's going to change the perception.
Just to add on what she just said, that the script is key. The script
is absolutely key.
Very important. Like, it's very surprising that in Uganda people make scripts and they just give the actors, but the costume designer needs that script.
But also, we don't edit. We don't script edit. The writer is the script editor, which is incredible, because you have to hand it to another person to actually cut, you know, basically sift through where you've gone wrong. But
two eyes are better than one. Now,
also, you know, globally, people have teams of script writers, because they sit down and they bounce ideas off each other. For us, script writer, and they cannot be challenged. And like he said, only one person has the printed copy of the script, because it's expensive, right? Printing so many copies. So only which one, the actual script writer or the producer, one of them is the one with the script. And then the cast is sent scripts on the phone.
And they send them their lines.
And they send them their lines. Not the entire picture of the script. They just send you the scene, which is incredible, because how am I going to actually give you the truth of that character if I don't know where that character is going or where they've come from?
Nana, a filmmaker out there who's watching could be thinking, Nana is wrong, Andrew is wrong.
Right.
We have a lot of challenges. We don't have money. We do all these things. I become the producer, the filmmaker, the editor, the screenwriter, because I do not have money. And we have talked about the funding that goes in. I always want to look at a problem and ask the question, why?
I think,
why is this happening?
I personally think that we ignore pre-production in Ugandan film industry.
But why?
Because
is it lack of professionalism, and is that the reason why several companies, several institutions are coming up and offering trainings to filmmakers
I think
today?
there's that issue of professionalism. There's also the issue that a lot of filmmakers are self-taught, so they don't know etiquette of being on film. They also don't know what to ask for, because as a director, I cannot take on a project if I haven't sat down with a scriptwriter and the producer and the cast and understood where you want your project to go. So it's very imperative that people consider pre-production, because it solves 90% of your problems. But in Uganda, we don't do pre-production. I get money, I say atukore. Instead of sitting down and doing the scene breakdowns, doing your project scheduling, doing your call sheets, sitting down with your actors, having one-to-ones, talking to your costume designer, giving them the visual of what you want, talking to your DOP, understanding what tone of film you want. Do you want warmth? Do you want harshness? Basically sitting with your entire crew and saying you work as a unit, not this person like with themselves and that person. And then also I understand you have to understand your equipment. What camera am I going to use? We often find ourselves with people saying, and what you don't understand is your quality of work is compromised. But again, pre-production, take the time to sit down and understand every decision has a cost implication. So it really, I think that's what compromises a lot of Ugandan productions. And you find yourself people getting halfway through a film, run out of money, cast bedimi. Have you seen cast?
But I've also noticed that that at times the little money we have can actually do a good production.
Very much so.
But because we do not pre-produce the planning, we miss the planning part.
Exactly.
We end up misusing the little money we have. Like I've seen very many Ugandan films that have cost about 30 million plus, and truth is they shouldn't have cost that much. But because that planning did not exist at the beginning.
The recurring thread that I'm noticing from all the discussion we're having is that there is unprofessionalism in the movie industry. And just moving the conversation forward.
No. But
I'm telling you.
I also want to highlight,
Yeah.
we miss so many key positions because we want to not pay crew. You find that they are...
so producers do not want to pay crew?
They don't pay crew. So they'll sit down and say, we don't need an assistant production manager, we don't need a line producer, we don't need an assistant gaffer, we don't need a camera assistant. But what they don't understand that all these people are essential for you delivering that project within that time frame. And once you miss one out, you're doubling the time, you're doubling the days. Now people are exhausted from doing multiple jobs. And they're not interested anymore in continuing with whatever it is that you have in your head. So there's unprofessionalism, but there's also understanding what every key position in that production is for.
This has reminded me of something that we talked about on another show with Andrew. He mentioned that there is a problem of filmmakers who finally get money, this 100 million, get a little bit of temperature, and then feel like this is my chance to pay myself for all the hard work I've been going through over the years.
I'm telling you, I know that situation very well. I have been in that situation where somebody decided, this is my work, even if it wasn't their work. This is my chance to take an award, and this is my chance to show the world that I too can do what the other person does. What they don't understand, it takes years, it takes understanding the entire process, but esente ezo. Omuntu nga akutte ku sente. You know, it's interesting. It's omuntu nga akutte ku sente araba nga they are untouchable, they're invincible. So now they're going to go out and put a label on themselves. They're going to label themselves a producer when they've never done the work, and then they're going to basically put in a proposal for funding. You're going to give them that money, and what you're going to produce is what we see. Araba naye ayina okukola ki gwe oli afuna lwaki Matthew nabwisa afuna bwezityo nyange bwenzifuna I'm going to produce.
There's been an accusation, and since you are actively a filmmaker and you're dealing with crew members, there's been an accusation that most filmmakers, when they get money, these fundings from institutions, is that again, in the spirit of paying themselves, if a budget is of 100 million,
Yes.
they want to at least take home 60 or 50% of that, and that now trickles down to paying the crew and the actors
No, they want to
less
take
money.
70. I think you're being very conservative.
70?
70%. I've seen people take 80%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then they use the 20% to pay actors. And
Yes, and then they'll basically hold the actors ransom and the crew ransom, and then they'll say, if you don't want to work, then step off my set. Or they'll wait and say, we'll pay you at the end. And once you do work in our industry, you know for a fact you can't take it back. Once you execute something for someone and they don't pay you up front, and they will not pay, they don't have to pay you, because they're going to put their name on it. They're going to basically, once you raise hell, they will find another person to give the credit. Remember, we don't have enforceable contracts in the film industry. We don't. There is no production. There is no guild to report to. There's no body that's going to fight for you.
Then our artists, like the actors and the talent, are such a bunch of cowards.
what do
I
you
didn't
mean?
say that.
No,
What do
like
you mean?
I think, like being a journalist and working with the industry, I get very many people come to my
Yes,
inbox
when they
tell
want
me
to tell you
their
stories.
problems, and then they do not want to tell me their problems. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, I do.
They want to tell you. But
I
they
want to
don't
tell you something, but I don't want to give you names.
Yes, like, or they are willing to give you names, but they don't want to be mentioned if you do a story. Like, but leave me out, and then you're asking them, so who do I say told me this? Like, you want me to expose this, but I say
reputable
who told
sources.
me this?
Yes.
Who is the source?
There's a lot of misuse of power in our industries. There's a lot of exploitation.
Yeah.
And like you said, the only time people ever get a voice if they can get journalists to write about it. But again, it's a very small industry, and people are threatened by, if I speak out, I'm going to be blacklisted. I won't work. And you know, this producer will talk to this producer, and I won't get a job. What they don't understand, personally for me, I'm a free thinker. I don't really care if someone came to me and said, Andrew is problematic. If he can deliver what I want him to deliver, I just need to figure out how to handle him. You see, because there's certain people that are just that talented, that you need them for the product that you have. So I don't care if they tell me he throws bottles around set. I just have to figure out to give him plastic cups. So when he throws them around, nothing's going to get broken. But we live in fear. This industry is driven by fear and greed and unprofessionalism. And I think that producers actually feed off that fear. They really do.
What are your closing remarks on how can we solve these huge issues in the film industry, and how can we move forward? Because I'm a person who believes in second chances. How do you give the film industry a second chance?
By the way, I think that we actually have a chance to fix this, but you need to do it properly. What we're getting is, and we've had this discussion numerous times, there needs to be a guild that holds people accountable. What we have are multiple units of different people that actually put themselves in positions without experience, without exposure, without even studying what guilds like the Hollywood, SAG, Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA, what they're about. And we need to be able to protect our cast and our crew. And we have to be able to sit down, listen to them, draft a vision that we all must follow, and if someone doesn't do what they have to do, then they're held accountable. In LA, if you exploit an actor, by good Lord, they'll shut down your production like in 3 days. If SAG gets a complaint on your set, but that's what needs to happen here to some extent, so that producers are not, all-knowing, godlike little creatures that go around saying, you will not work, I don't like you, I will not pay you. And that's what's happening. So now, where do you go to complain? This is something that needs to be addressed, and it cannot be addressed by the likes of UCC, because they're not creatives, they're technocrats. And that's my biggest problem, that we don't have a unit that can sit down that is actually creatives that have been in this industry for a while, that are credible, that have their credentials, that can sit down and say, this is what we need to do for the emerging film industry in Uganda. If we don't do that, it's not a pretty picture.
Andrew?
Yeah, like you said, we need guilds. We need very strong guilds. and that's at all levels. Like the producers, as much as the producers could be being had on the people below them, they also need their guild to talk to the people that are giving them money, because the people that are giving them money at times are coming up with very impossible conditions. So like we need guilds at each levels, but besides guilds, when it comes to the filmmakers, like we need to remember why we are making films to begin with. I remember, because this year I made a comment that I liked the films Ugandans made when they did not have money. Like they looked better, they felt better, they acted better. Today there is money and things are just becoming worse, so we need to remember why we started making films. In Uganda, there is something they use today a lot, that nkolera abantu. We need to remember that we are working for the people. People need to enjoy those films.
Well, Andrew, Nana, thank you for coming through. It's been a very engaging conversation. Hope to have you back, Nana, and then we continue this conversation.
Sure 2024. Not with him.
Not with him.
He makes me say things that I'm wondering what is going to go on X, because
He'll be good.
Those streets are savage.
He'll be good. He'll be good, I promise, next time. Well, and thank you who has been at home watching us and following this conversation on social media platforms. That is on Twitter, which is X now, Facebook, YouTube. The hashtag is always Morning at NTV, and my name is always Idris Kaggwa.